and welcome to Pink Octopus Productions and the winter allotment. And it's actually Boxing Day today. It's become a little bit of a tradition to come up here on Boxing Day and work on the plot when it's lovely and quiet everywhere. There's nobody around today. There's a lot of traffic on the road, a lot of people out walking, swimming, fox hunting. Sorry, they don't do fox hunting now, do they? They do trail hunting, get that bit right. Football matches, going to the sales, all those Boxing Day things. If it's dry like this, I want to be up here gardening. Anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to do some winter pruning. So let's go and see how things are on the plot. We've had some very, very high winds in the last few weeks in the southwest. So it's taken a bit of a hammering, to be honest. And I'm going to show you what that looks like on my shed roof. I had a massive shock. Came up here a couple of days ago to pick some winter veg, and I thought my shed was looking a little bit strange, and you can see what's happened, that some of the felt, there it is, has literally come off the roof. So that is going to be a job. I've got some felt on order, and sometime before New Year, because that's when the weather's going to break again and get wet, I need to get up here and get that repaired. That was a real shock. That wasn't something that I was looking forward to the idea of having to do. Didn't envisage it ever being an issue. But as you can see, it's just caught under the top side and just ripped off, which is a real shame. These things happen. Apart from that, the plot's not looking too bad. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cut, prune hard the autumn raspberries. There they are. So what you do with autumn raspberries is you actually prune them in the winter, anytime, late December, January, early February, and you cut them right back, and they're easy. So you just cut them right back, and then they shoot up again the following year and provide you with fruit. So they're a bit easier than summer raspberries. So I always grow autumn raspberries for the simple reason that A, they're easier to look after, well I think they are anyway, and also the fact that I have lots of strawberries in June into July, and I don't really want raspberries at the same time, so it's nice to have a kind of succession. So strawberries first and then raspberries a little bit later. So that's the job I'm going to do. And then just moving across here, I'm also, I'll just turn the camera around, there we go, I'm also going to do the gooseberries, and they look a right old tangled mess, don't they? Look at the state of those. So they need opening out, sort of goblet shapes really, get rid of any cross branches, that kind of thing. And I'm really hoping next year to have a bit more success with gooseberries, because this year and the year before they've been a disaster. They've all been there one minute and the next minute the birds have come down and had the lot. But there are various remedial jobs that need doing. There's a bit of tying up to do. And then we've also got the fruit trees over here. So plum trees you can leave, pear trees, that one actually is not looking too bad, but the apple tree, which has now shed its leaves, needs a little bit of pruning, just a light touch. So I'm going to be working on that as well, and I'll probably do that one first. Anyway, time to get started, I think. Right, so we're going to make a start on the apple tree. Now, I have to confess, I'm not an expert when it comes to pruning. It always scares me. I don't know what it is about pruning. It's like the holy grail, isn't it? If you know what you're doing when you're pruning, I think, oh, expert. So I'm a bit of an amateur. So if you're an amateur as well, welcome to my world. If you're not an amateur, please don't watch this video because I'm probably doing it wrong. That's paranoia. Right, so the first thing to do is to have a look at your fruit tree. This is an apple tree and it's had an amazing harvest this year. I'm just going to take this piece of string off and have a look and just see if there's any dead wood anywhere at all. And I think this one's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty healthy at the moment, which is lovely. The key with an apple tree is you want to create plenty of air circulation around the branches. So it's crossing branches that you want to try and get rid of. And what I would do, nice sharp pair of secateurs, is prune any branches that are crossing over. And don't take off more than a third. I think that's the key message. Don't take off more than a third, because if you take off too much, you get lots of branches, apparently I read this online, shooting up in the air, and it all becomes a little bit manic. And you don't want your tree growing so crazily that it does what this one's doing, which is pushing the fence out. So I'm just having a look round, and anything that looks a little bit congested, crossing over, or a bit on the lengthy side, I'm basically getting rid of. So you've got one here, for example, which is crossing over, which I shall take off fairly savagely. It's kind of, I'm feeling my way through. I did check this out to see that I'm doing the right thing, but it's better to be cautious and take off less rather than more. And I'm going to carry on doing that now, and hopefully it will yield some fruit this year, because it's been really, really good. So I think I've probably done enough for this year. What I've done is to take off branches that are overtly crossing, although I can actually see one over there, so I shall have a go at that one in a minute, and just kind of open things up a bit. And as I said, the best thing is to be a little bit on the cautious side and don't over prune. It's a bit of a shock to the system for the tree if you over prune. But this tree's had a really good crop of apples this year. I've made lots of juice, really, really good. I'm trying to remember what kind of apple it is. I think it was a Bramley, I can't remember. I'm hopeless at remembering what what grows where. And then we've got over here, we've got the plum tree, which is huge, and that won't be pruned at the moment. And then we have got the pear tree over here. And again, that one, I might just take a couple of bits off. That one's had a few pears this year, which were actually quite nice. So I'll just finish this off, and then we'll go and do the raspberries, which are much more straightforward. So, raspberry canes, really, really easy. If you can't see me, hopefully you can see the raspberry canes. Put that over there. Right, so I'm going to start at the outside and work in. I think that's the best way to do this. And all you do is you get as far down as you can, and you basically cut down to the base. Maybe a couple of inches of cane left over. And you can see that they've lost their leaves. And 2025 has been an amazing year for fruit. Absolutely incredible. If any of you out there have grown fruit, my goodness me, it's been a bumper year. I don't think I've ever had so much fruit. And the autumn raspberries were amazing, because they started off yielding fruit back in sort of late July, early August, which is quite early. And they went right through, almost to November, which was amazing. So this is all I'm doing. I'm just literally cutting them back at the base. And there's some nice healthy stems here, which is good. And I'll just keep doing this. And I'll be here a while. And because it's Boxing Day, it's a great way to work off your Christmas dinner, isn't it, really? There we go. And I'll show you what it looks like when I've finished. So as you can see, we're getting there. It's taking ages, but you've got these little bits here in the ground which are you look at it this time of year and you can't imagine anything growing out of here, but you know what, come spring it'll all be bursting out of the ground. So it's just a question really of having nice sharp secateurs, and it's very satisfying actually pruning autumn raspberries, because you cut them down and you know they're going to grow up again, which is lovely. You're not going to do anything wrong with pruning autumn raspberries, whereas there's other types of pruning where you've got to be a bit more careful. You don't cut the life out. What it has made me realise is how awful these gooseberry bushes are, so I shall come on to those later as well. And also how prickly they are. They are very, very, very prickly. So, the other thing about raspberries is they're real thugs, and they'll shoot up everywhere. So my garden at home, I find them growing in the lawn sometimes. I've got a few in one of the beds. And you've got to really be careful. So they're growing all over the place. They're in all around the shed. If they yield fruit, it's quite nice, but you do have to keep an eye on them, because they will go and grow. What they'll do, you see, is they'll send up suckers. So the roots are romping away underground, and they'll send up suckers, and they'll grow up between paving slabs, driveways, right next to buildings, and they won't cause any damage because they're not that big, but they'll just get absolutely everywhere. I reckon I'm about a third of the way through. I thought this would be a half an hour job, but it's very satisfying. Very satisfying indeed. Right, I'm nearly halfway through. I've got a full bucket, so I'm going to take a short break because it's very, very cold up here today, and only a hot drink will do. So I'll just go over here. Because I've cut these up finely, they should add. It's going to make the compost a bit woody, but we'll see how that goes. They're not too hard, so they may rot down okay. And if nothing else, they'll add a little bit of texture to the compost, which is what you need. Right. So, somewhere lurking in my bag, I've got a nice flask of hot chocolate with a dash of coffee. It's always worth bringing provisions with you when you come up to an allotment, because you can get quite cold working outside. Oh, look at that. Oh, it smells good. I've got a dash of coffee in here. Oh, that is beautiful. That is so good. That's a proper mocha or mocha. Mocha. It's like tomato or tomato, isn't it? I tend to say mocha, but I don't say scone. I say scone. Maybe it should be mocha. Who cares anyway when it's this good? So I'm having a short break, and while I have one, I will give you some little pearls of wisdom. She says, I'm not going to pretend I'm a gardening expert. I'm not a gardening expert. I took this plot on about 4 years ago, and I've kind of, felt my way into it. It's just, and I think that's one of the things about gardening. It's just to try things out, suck it and see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's what nature does, isn't it? And not worry. And I've got some plans for next year. One little tip actually is to make a plan every year. In September time, make a plan of what you've grown, because you need to make sure you rotate everything. I'll just turn the camera around and show you what I'm talking about. So you'll notice all the beds here have all got black plastic membrane on them, which I just reuse and reuse. And I cover them up just because A, it protects the soil, but also it means I don't have to be weeding every 5 minutes. So if you get a very mild spell like we've had recently and everything's grown like mad, you don't want to be up here trying to weed waterlogged soil. It just isn't much fun. So what I do every year, once I finish my growing, I take everything up, give everything a light dig over if I can be bothered, and then I just put the plastic sheeting down and I peg it down with all sorts of things, stones, pins. You can buy all sorts of bits and bobs, or just use bricks if you've got them. And before I do that, I make a plan of what I've actually grown where, because it's really important that you don't grow, say, brassicas in the same bed 2 years running, that kind of thing. And the idea is then you can rotate, and it gives you an opportunity as well to think, well, what am I going to do next year? And I think my plan for 2026 is going to be, I may not use all the beds next year. I may actually, the ones over by the fruit trees, for example, they haven't done very well this year. I think the fruit trees have taken the bulk of all the moisture. And I tried to grow courgettes and they were a disaster, probably because it was so dry and hot. So I may not bother with courgettes next year. I might actually leave those beds next year and just give them a rest. The raised beds, on the other hand, have been absolutely amazing. They really have been good. And I've had some lovely beetroot harvests. And that's another thing, is to take note of what you actually have been successful with, what's grown really well, because more of the same, I guess. So I've done really well with beetroot this year, really well. I've done really well with leeks this year. The carrots have been good up here as well, but only where I've had raised beds. And I'd say raised beds, although they can harbour slugs, they're very, very good for growing your root crops. What I haven't been able to grow at all up here are parsnips. I've just had none of them germinated, so I want to try and give those another go if I can. So this is a good time to take stock. Excuse me, my nose is running because it's so cold up here. It's freezing. Take stock of what you've grown. Make a little plan of what you have grown. You can just get a sheet of paper and draw the beds out and just write down in each bed what you've grown in this year. And then you could even overlay it and have like a different colour with what you're going to grow next year. So if you've grown, I don't know, if you've grown leeks in a raised bed this year, you might say, right, okay, so I've written leeks down on that. I'm going to do carrots next year. And you write carrots in a different colour. And that means that you can remember, because it's so easy to forget. So that's a good thing to be doing in the winter, is actually to take stock and to plan ahead. Anyway, I'll stop wittering now. I'm going to finish my coffee, hot chocolate, and get back to work. And we finally finished. There it is, look. It's looking a bit of a mess at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is get down on my hands and knees and basically do some weeding, because there's a lot of weeds down there. And then when I've done that, I might just edge things up, tidy it up a little bit. And then it's these little babies, the gooseberry bushes, and they certainly need some work. So things are now looking a bit tidier, and there is the raspberry bed. You can barely see any raspberry cones now, but that's what you do with your autumn raspberries. You cut them right down, and I guarantee they'll be springing up all over the place by about March, April time, and then you'll have a bountiful harvest. Peak times usually around about sort of September, early September. You get loads and loads, and I've got the yellow variety and the red variety, and they're really, really tasty. They're quite small up here on this plot actually, but they do taste really, really good. So I would definitely advocate autumn raspberries, because it's a nice bit of succession sowing after your strawberries. And then we've got the gooseberry bushes, which, as you can see, are looking somewhat chaotic. There's 3 altogether. And what I've got to do with these is I've got to cut them, I've got to cut all the dead stuff off. And I've also, although it all looks dead at the moment, but it isn't. And the other thing I've got to do is to basically cut crossing branches and create a sort of goblet shape so that the air can circulate around them. And they are, I'm going to pan in a bit closer, they are very, very prickly. This is what I can't understand. The birds stripped them the 2nd year running this year, and how they got in them I don't know, because they are so prickly. The spikes on them are evil. So I've got some very good gloves to put on, and I'm going to do the pruning, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. I think I've finished. Let's pan in on those. Basically, I've taken a fair bit off. I've had a fairly harsh haircut. But what I have done is I've opened them out. I've cut off the branches that are crossing other branches. I've cut off some dead wood, and I've just trimmed up some of the canes just to shape. And they should be fine for next year. And I'm going to be wise next year as well. When the berries start appearing, I'll get the bird nets on straight away. So that's pretty much my winter pruning. There's a few little repair jobs to do. As I said, the shed roof is going to need a recover. That will be coming up in a couple of days. Those canes also need tying up as well. But apart from that, I think we are getting ready for the spring. Looking forward to it. And thank you if you did watch this video. I'm not pretending I know all the answers. I certainly don't. I'm not an expert. So if you're sitting at home thinking, she doesn't know what she's doing, you could be right. Maybe I don't. But I just want to share my allotment. And it's nice to come up here in the winter and have it to yourself and enjoy the space. And please subscribe to Pink Octopus Productions. We don't just do videos on allotments. I do videos on various travels that we go on and bits and bobs. Thank you for watching.